Gate. Thus the Japanese Self-Defense Forces fought there begins by showing a man named Youji Itami, a Japanese Self-Defense Forces or JSDF reservist who is about to attend a doujin convention in Ginza, Tokyo. However, a mysterious gate suddenly appears, through which mythological creatures led by men in Roman armor emerge and attack the people. Seeing this, Itami did not stay silent and then rushed to save the residents who were being attacked by the mythological creatures. He helps organize the police to evacuate the civilians to the Imperial Palace before the JSDF arrives to stop the invaders. The Japanese army finally arrived, easily defeating the mythological creatures and quelling all attacks from within the gate. After the attack incident, Itami was promoted to first lieutenant and celebrated as a national hero for his actions to save the citizens. The appearance of the gate and the attack on Japanese civilians were dubbed the Ginza incident. This thing prompted the incumbent prime minister to take action by proclaiming that Japan would send a JSDF task force backed by the US to the special region. Hopefully, they were not only exploring the new world but also capturing and demanding reparations from those responsible for the attack. After 3 months of preparation, the new prime minister sends off the JSDF task force, including Itami, on their mission to the special region. Upon arriving, the task force encounters an army waiting for them and prepares for battle. The Empire sent the army to deal with the Japanese forces stationed at Olnus Hill, where the gate is located, but they're easily obliterated by the JSDF's modern artillery. Knowing that he had lost 60% of his troops after the war against the Japanese forces, who had more modern weapons, Emperor Molt devised a strategy by forming alliances with other kingdoms. However, Emperor Molt, who realized they would not be able to defeat the Japanese forces, intended to weaken the fighting power of the other kingdoms by forcing them to fight against the Japanese forces. After several other kingdoms agreed to form an alliance, they mobilized 300,000 troops to face the Japanese forces, which had only 10,000 people. Emperor Molt did not deploy his own troops and allowed the alliance troops to fight against the Japanese forces. After the Japanese forces slaughtered around 100,000 soldiers from the alliance forces, King Durin, the leader of the alliance forces, decided to retreat and devised a new strategy to defeat the Japanese forces. Elsewhere, Emperor Molt seemed pleased that his plan to weaken the fighting power of another kingdom had worked. The emperor then sent his daughter, Pina Colada, to Olnus Hill to oversee the movement of the Japanese forces. Meanwhile, at Olnus Hill, his superiors assigned Itami to lead the 3rd Recon Unit to survey nearby cities and points of interest. Itami and his team then enter the village of Kota, where they try to contact the villagers and learn their language and culture. But then, they were surprised by the appearance of a massive fire dragon running amok and destroying a settlement within the nearby forest. After the giant dragon left, they rushed to the place and found a village scorched by the fire dragon's attack. While looking for survivors, Itami finds an unconscious elf woman named Tuka Luna Marso inside a well. Itami and his team rushed to save Luna and brought her to Kota village. Knowing that the fire dragon might return to attack them, the villagers decided to flee to a safer place with the help of Itami and his team. In the middle of the evacuation process, they met a female mage, Lele La Leona, and her master, Kato El Altistan. On the other hand, when they are hoping to take advantage of the situation, a group of bandits decides to attack the villagers. Fortunately, all the bandits were slaughtered by Rory Mercury, a demigoddess and an apostle of the dark god Imroi. With her superpower and centuries of combat experience, she can easily crush the bandits. The next day, Itami and his party met Rory, curious about the combat vehicles belonging to the Japanese forces, and decided to go with them. However, the fire dragon appears and attacks the convoy, killing numerous villagers until Itami and the 3rd unit blow off one of its front legs with an anti-tank rocket, forcing it to retreat. Soon after, the villagers decided to go somewhere safer and thanked Itami and his team for helping them. Shortly afterward, they part ways with the villagers. Itami then takes the remaining refugees, Rory, Luna, and Lele, back to Olnus Hill. The Japanese forces welcomed their presence there, who wanted to establish good relations with the locals while learning their language and culture. Meanwhile, Princess Pina Colada from the Empire learns more about the JSDF's exploits and decides to investigate them personally. Princess Pina encounters King Durin, mortally wounded in the battle against the Japanese forces. However, she was surprised when she discovered Emperor Molt did not deploy his troops to help the Alliance troops, as if deliberately trapping them all. King Durin says that the Emperor is the real enemy and asks her to investigate the truth about the Japanese forces on Olnus Hill for herself. Meanwhile, knowing that they cannot depend on the JSDF's charity forever, Lele points out that they can collect scales from the corpses of dragons killed by the Japanese forces, which will fetch a good price in the local markets. On the other side of the gate, the Japanese parliament requests Itami for an audience regarding the battle against the fire dragon. However, by the time the summons for Itami arrives, he has already left with Rory, Lele, Luna, and the rest of the 3rd unit to trade the collected dragon scales at the city of Italica. Meanwhile, Princess Pinna and her knights are also searching for further information about the Japanese forces. Not long after, Itami and his party arrive in Italica. Princess Pinna and her army manage to repulse the attacks from the bandits. However, knowing that her knights and the local militia lack the strength to keep holding off the bandits until help arrives, she finds herself in a predicament until she meets Itami and his party. Upon being informed of the situation, he decides to help defend the city and agrees with her plan of positioning himself and his soldiers on the least guarded side of the walls. Itami soon realized that they were being used as bait and were only used by Princess Pinna. However, he did not complain and decided to follow her plan to convince her that they could be trusted and establish good relations with the Empire so they would no longer have to fight each other. It turned out the enemy did not fall for their trap and instead launched an attack on the main force at the East Gate. The princess is on the verge of despair as the city's defenses are broken. At the same time, the frustrated Princess Pinna was reluctant to ask Itami and his soldiers for help who was on guard at the West Gate because she felt guilty for using them as bait. On the other hand, Itami saw that the bandits were attacking the East Gate, then mobilized his soldiers to rush over there and help their resistance. He asked the Japanese forces at Onu's Hill to help them. After Itami and his subordinates, including Rory, were involved in the battle, the bandits were easily defeated. Meanwhile, Princess Pinna, who witnessed how they defeated the bandits, finally learned about the combat power of the Japanese forces which were far superior to them and could not be underestimated. After the battle, Itami negotiated with Princess Pinna and the Italicans for trivial compensation terms to retain their sovereignty. When he and the 3rd Recon unit departs back to Onu's Hill, they encounter Princess Pinna's Order of the Rose Knights on their way. Upon discovering their identities as the Japanese forces, Bose's co-policy, second in command of Princess Pinna's Order of Rose Knights, takes Itami captive, unaware of the peace treaty he and the princess had just established. To avoid further conflict, Itami orders his party to leave without him instead of fighting, leaving himself at the female knight's mercy. Boses, who mistook him for an enemy, captured and beat him and brought him back to Italica. However, Princess Pinna reprimands Boses for capturing Itami, fearing that the Japanese forces will use the incident as an excuse to retaliate for breaking the treaty. Because of that, Princess Pinna asked Boses and the female knights to apologize to Itami and treat his wounds and bruises due to the beating incident. Meanwhile, Rory, Lele, Luna, and some of the 3rd Recon unit decided to return to Italica to save Itami. But then, they found him in good condition because all the misunderstandings had been cleared by Princess Pinna. On the other hand, Boses was urged by Princess Pinna to personally apologize to Itami. However, when she entered Itami's room, she was ignored by him, who was having a small party with his companions. Seeing that, Boses felt irritated and immediately slapped him. Appalled that Boses might have antagonized Itami further, Princess Pinna and Boses then join him and the 3rd Recon unit's trip back to Onu's Hill to personally apologize to his superiors for Boses' actions. Princess Pinna and Boses meet with Itami's commanding officer, Lieutenant General Hazama, with Lele as an interpreter. After that, Itami invites Luna to come with him to Japan to meet the Japanese parliament as a representative of the special region. The next day, Itami and his subordinates accompany Rory, Lele, Luna, Princess Pinna, and Boses through the gate to Japan. They arrive in Tokyo, where Princess Pinna and the other girls are awed by the city and its people. Arriving in Tokyo, Princess Pinna and the other girls then attended a meeting with members of the Japanese parliament, which was broadcast live and witnessed by all Japanese citizens, as well as the leaders of the 3 superpowers in the world, the United States, China, and Russia. At first, the meeting went smoothly until the MPs questioned Itami's failure to defeat the Fire Dragon, which resulted in many casualties. However, Rory, Lele, and Luna defended Itami and the Japanese forces, telling how the Japanese soldiers helped save many lives from the monster. Then, both Itami's and Princess Pinna's groups reunite in the subway to escape from the press and a mysterious group that seems to be targeting the special region girls. Due to a mole leaking their itinerary, Itami changes plans and brings the group to stay with his ex-wife. He explains everything to his ex-wife, Risa, who agrees to help him by taking Princess Pinna and the other girls to stay in her house. Meanwhile, Itami meets with his old friend, Defense Minister Kanutaro, who instructs him to bring the special region guest to a hot spring inn guarded by the Japanese Special Force guards. As they stay at the inn for some relaxation, 3 different Black Ops teams enter the area and battle with the guards. While the guards identify 2 of the Black Ops operatives as Americans, the Japanese Prime Minister is blackmailed by the US President, who wants the SFG to stop attacking his Black Ops team, so they can take the special region guests with them. The Prime Minister then orders Taro to tell his men to stand down, but not before revealing that he will resign to void the president's leverage. The US Black Ops team arrives at the inn, only to encounter the two rival teams from Russia and China, leading to a three-way firefight. Rory soon joins, ending with everyone besides him dead. After taking a van from the Russians, Itami's group heads back to Ginza, worried that the foreign agents will attack again. That's why Risa posts a message on the internet that the Special Region girls will visit the Ginza Memorial. As a result, a large crowd gathers at Ginza to meet the girls, hindering the foreign agents' plans to kidnap them. After they publicize the previous kidnapping attempts on live TV, the US, Chinese, and Russian leaders eventually canceled the kidnapping operation. After saying goodbye to Risa and paying their respects at the Ginza Memorial, the Special Region girls return to the gate. Realizing the Empire's war with Japan will lead to its destruction, Princess Pina plans to head back to the capital to arrange peace talks between both sides. 5 months since the gate's opening, the refugee camp at Olnus Hill has developed into a town and trading center for goods from the earth. At the imperial capital, the princess introduces the Japanese Ministry of Foreign Affairs' new ambassador to the Empire, Lord Cicero, one of the most important nobles within the Empire's pro-war faction. She obtains his cooperation with the peace talks in exchange for the release of his nephew, who is currently in Japan's custody as a prisoner of war. Back in Olnus Hill, a dark female elf named Yao Hadushi approaches several Japanese soldiers for help. However, due to their limited language skills, Itami's superior, General Hazama, then summons Lele to translate what Yao wanted to say, who apparently wanted to ask the Japanese forces to help save her people. After learning Yao's story, General Hazama tells her that he cannot help her, as her home, Schwartz Forest, is located in the Elba Kingdom, outside the Empire's borders. As the Japanese are currently in peace talks with the Empire, sending troops over their border would mean a declaration of war and reignite conflict. With Yao devastated at the news, some soldiers sympathize with her and suggest that she should ask Itami for help. Elsewhere, Itami and his men deliver goods from Earth to Princess Pina as part of their plan to win over more nobles to seek peace with Japan. The anime ends with Itami heading back to base, hoping to achieve peace between both sides. The moral that can be learned from this anime is that war doesn't determine who is right. Though force can protect danger, only justice, fairness, consideration, and cooperation can finally lead men to the dawn of eternal peace.